Hello all, this is Amanda. I'm going to talk with you today about something a little bit different. So I'm not actually going to focus on macrame today, but I'm going to talk to you about doing arts and crafts markets. It's something that I've started doing relatively recently, so I'm very much still learning and have really enjoyed it so far. And I thought I'd like to share some of the tips with you that I have. Things I've learned that are really important for doing the arts and crafts markets so far, but I'm sure there's more to add, so please feel free to add comments and I'd love to read them and to read your suggestions as well. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I've got 9 things that I'd like to mention to you today. It's an odd number, but why not? So I'm going to start off with something that's really important to bring, which is a power bank. And I mean, for so many of the things that you might want to use while you're at the market, some of which I will mention later on, it's a really handy thing to have, and just make sure it's charged up before you go. The one that I've been using is a TechNet one, and I will put a link in the description below for that, as I will with some of the other items that I'm going to be mentioning. Number 2, linked with the power bank, is a card reader. So I've got this really nice little one by SumUp, which is very straightforward and easy to use. And having your power bank there, you can just make sure that it's fully charged, and it does work really well, really straightforward. Something that I found early on is that often people will mention a card reader by a particular brand, and they'll just give you the brand name. They won't actually say card reader, and I had to do a bit of searching online to discover that actually there were lots of different card readers which do the job, and that SumUp one certainly does. It's also quite handy to have this little charging station for it, which I will then connect with the power bank to keep that fully charged. And another thing to mention when we're talking about that is, with that card reader, it will actually connect up with your mobile phone. So it's really good to either check if they've got Wi-Fi where you're going, or if not, just make sure that your data or mobile hotspot is working okay. Maybe do a little test somewhere and see how that goes. But that should be quite straightforward for you. Next thing that I'm going to mention are, and these aren't always necessary but can be really important, battery lights. So just little lights that you can put around your store. So again, I'll put a link for this set below in the description. These are really good if you're in somewhere with quite dim lighting. So for example, I do one arts and crafts market which is in a church, and it's nice to have those lights in there, and it makes the store pretty and attractive. And then also just when it's bad weather, when there are lots of grey clouds, or even if you're doing a market that goes on until the evening, or especially for something like a Christmas market, those lights which operate with batteries are really handy to take with you. Okay, next thing I'm going to mention 3 things that are really helpful in terms of selling your products and making the display look good. One of them is props. So for me, just bringing along a couple of plants is really good, because then I'll put those plants inside the macrame plant hangers which I sell. So that's a really good prop. And sometimes it just might not be so obvious as to what you can actually use your product for. So a really handy thing to remember to bring along are props. Again, in relation to display, tablecloth, because you don't always know what sort of table you're going to be given at the venue, if you are indeed given a table, another thing to check. So I like to bring along 2 tablecloths, one in a nice neutral colour like this, and then I just also make sure that I've got a waterproof table as well, which can have other purposes, such as providing even a bit of shelter above if need be, if that's not supplied. And other items to bring, really important, I would say, are your business cards, okay, or flyers. So for example, I've got these business cards here which have my website and email details on. I'd also in future like to have something with all my social media on as well, so I'm thinking of having some flyers made which will have those details. And what else was I going to mention to you? Oh yes, and I didn't actually bring it to the table with me, but a thermos is just really helpful. I mean, I really like to get some fresh food from the arts and crafts market that I go to, one I go to where they do things like jacket potatoes, which is lovely. But I do think that just in case, it's always good to have a nice hot cup of tea or coffee, so bringing a thermos with you with that already prepared is a really good idea. Okay, and I think, oh yes, one more thing I was going to mention to you is just a safe place to store your money. So maybe in a bag that goes around your waist, for example. That's what I would usually take with me, and also make sure in there that you've got a float, because there are still some people who will be paying with cash, although I have to say, mentioning the card reader again, most people seem to want to pay with card these days, even at markets, but it's still a good idea to have a little float for those that want to pay with cash. So I think that's 8 items I've done now. So the 9th tip is not necessarily about something to bring with you. The 9th tip actually relates more to being able to create on site if you can, and to do some sort of demonstration. Yeah, so if you are able to create on site, that is really good. People seem to love a demo, and I find that very often the items that I actually make on site are the ones that get sold. This one I finished off just before leaving last time, but I previously made a similar macrame plant hanger at the same market site, and it was snapped up really quickly. So I highly recommend that if you can make on site, then that's a really good idea, not just for sales but also just for enjoyment too, and just a way to spend the time when it is a bit quieter, and your time will still be productive then. So I'll always take along things like a cord for the macrame, scissors, tape, etc., which can also be useful for fixing things onto the stall anyway. So I'm going to leave it there, but I'm just going to now show you a couple of clips. There's one of the stall set up, and you'll notice it's not perfect. I think there are gaps in the stall. I feel like I could have a bit more of a display on the table, but it'll just give you some ideas, and then just a little clip of us at the end of the market. Okay, thank you everyone, see you soon, bye.
Hello all, so this is behind the scenes, the market. You see I've got a card reader there, some items on the table. Back in 2 minutes time, I need to go away, and really important, I've got some supplies to be making with while I'm at the market. And you see I've got a plant hanger, this one goes just there. So here we are at the end of the day at the market, and just enjoying the view now of Ramsgate Harbour. I'm just going to go back this way again because I didn't point out earlier on, but we have a Spanish replica ship. Is that right, Fred? Yes, a Spanish replica ship. It looks beautiful. Zoom in a little bit on that. An Armada ship, and I think that's a nice way to end the day, particularly as we've been selling macrame at the market today, which originally was an art practiced on ships. I'll see you next time everyone. Bye!